11 is just ruining laptops. Now, after the recent Windows update, people experienced black screen of death. Like there was blue, but now there's black screen of death. The update is corrupting file, laptops are crashing.
And there was problems with that update, and a lot of people were uninstalling it because of the issues that it was causing. Microsoft then released a patch.
Microsoft's Windows 11 February update has led to reports of failed installations, broken network connections, and cryptic errors.
Microsoft's Windows 11 update has spiraled into a global backlash, leaving millions of users in frustration and despair. What was promised as the next leap in innovation, offering speed, security, and stunning design, quickly turned into a series of critical failures that shattered user trust. As Bill Gates watches from the sidelines, the very foundation of Microsoft's legacy is at risk, with users and businesses alike now questioning if the company has lost its way forever.
Certain apps not opening correctly. This was Notepad, snipping tool, and other applications like Alienware Command Center, which is what my monitor is, and it wasn't opening correctly. There was also issues with Armory Crate and loads of other types of applications as well that wasn't functioning properly due to this update.
Bill Gates spent decades building something most companies only dream about: trust. Real, deep, unshakable trust. When Microsoft released Windows in the 1980s, it was not just software. It was a promise that technology would work for you, protect you, and make your life easier. Gates believed so strongly in this that in 2002, he wrote what became one of the most famous internal memos in corporate history. He called it the Trustworthy Computing Memo. In it, he told every single Microsoft engineer that security, privacy, and reliability were non-negotiables. Not suggestions, not goals, non-negotiables. That memo shaped Microsoft for years. It built loyalty from billions of users around the world. And then Windows 11 came along and blew it all up.
Like, how can you break Notepad? It's a simple tool. The situation is so bad that Microsoft had to admit Windows 11 is broken. This also shows in users. Like MacBook users are constantly on the rise. It has hit an all-time high of 16%. In fact, Apple has 50% market share of AI PCs.
When Microsoft first announced Windows 11 in 2021, the pitch was incredible. A sleeker design, faster performance, tighter security, Android app support, and a system built for the future of hybrid work. Microsoft told the world this was the operating system they had been waiting for. But there was a catch. Your old PC might not make the cut. Windows 11 required TPM 2.0 chips and secure boot technology, which meant millions of perfectly working computers were suddenly declared incompatible. Users were told to upgrade for security. What they got was a broken PC. Microsoft called it progress. Users called it a betrayal.
Last week, I talked about how a ton of people were reportedly having their SSDs basically die after a recent Windows update, specifically KB 506-3878. And since that video, Microsoft has released a statement basically saying, well, we couldn't reproduce it.
The backlash started almost immediately. Gamers noticed it first. Frame rates dropped on machines that had run games flawlessly on Windows 10. Load times got longer, performance got worse. Nobody had changed their hardware. Investigations revealed two major culprits hiding inside Windows 11. The first was virtualization-based security, a feature running constantly in the background, quietly eating processing power the user never agreed to hand over. The second was a thread scheduling flaw that specifically hammered AMD processors. Millions of AMD users were getting a degraded experience because Windows 11 could not properly communicate with their own hardware. These were not minor bugs. These were fundamental, embarrassing failures in an operating system marketed as the future of computing.
Especially if you got the same error that I was getting. I was able to actually figure out the solution to that, and I don't think anyone else has been able to figure it out.
Sure, some of these problems could be lingering issues left over from last month's File Explorer breaking update, but that doesn't exactly make Microsoft look better.
Then the human cost started showing up. A small business owner wakes up, walks into work, and finds half his team locked out of their computers after an overnight update. A freelance video editor loses 3 hours of work because a cumulative patch corrupted her file transfer system. A student sits down to finish an assignment and gets a blue screen. These were not edge cases. These were everyday people getting punished for trusting Microsoft. Engineers inside the company were operating under a continuous integration model, which sounds efficient, but in practice meant unstable code was being pushed to real users before anyone had properly tested it. The people who relied on Windows to run their lives were being used as unpaid beta testers. No warning, no consent, no apology.
You know January was brutal. Boot failures, random black screens, PCs that wouldn't shut down. It felt like every update broke something new.
Then came the artificial intelligence push. And this is where things got truly alarming. Microsoft introduced a feature called Recall. On the surface, the idea seemed useful. Recall would take screenshots of everything happening on your screen every few seconds, index all of it, and let you search back through your computing history like a memory bank. Microsoft framed it as a productivity revolution. Users saw something else entirely. They saw surveillance, built directly into their operating system, enabled by default. Security researchers immediately began tearing it apart. One researcher demonstrated that the data Recall collected could be accessed in plain text under certain conditions. Every password typed, every private document opened, every personal photo viewed. All of it recorded, all of it stored, all of it potentially exposed.
No, Windows, stop! I'm doing something important! Every Windows update is a hostage situation. You can't decline them. You either ruin your workflow right now or get ambushed later. Microsoft has a fundamental consent issue. Just look at its subsidiaries. We didn't want Cortana, and we definitely don't want her special brother Copilot. They reinstall themselves like malware anyways. Not to mention the adware that re-enables itself every update. I paid $120 for my license. I refuse to be force-fed ads in my file explorer. Windows, no means no.
The reaction was not just technical outrage. It was personal. People felt violated. This was the company Bill Gates had built on the promise of protecting your privacy and giving you control over your own machine. Now that same company was building a feature that recorded your entire digital life and calling it a gift. Microsoft eventually delayed Recall and made it opt-in rather than default. But here is the truth about trust. You cannot unbreak it with a settings toggle. The damage was done, the mask had slipped, and millions of users saw exactly what was underneath.
I've been a Windows user for life. I worked on Windows servers, iSeries, IBM servers, Ubuntu. I love command line and I love Windows. But sadly, in 2026, Windows is ruining laptops. And the reason?
AI Copilot made everything worse. Microsoft embedded it across Windows 11 aggressively. It appeared in the taskbar, in menus, in places nobody asked for it. It consumed system resources. It could not be fully removed. Users who had paid for their machines, paid for their software, and paid for their subscriptions suddenly felt like they had no control over the product sitting on their own desk. They were no longer the customers. They were the product, and they knew it.
Microsoft CEO even had to say this: we have to do something useful with AI in Windows or we just can't justify spending money on electricity of AI servers. If nobody is using it, why is Windows still pushing AI?
If you're enjoying this deep dive into Microsoft's biggest crisis, don't forget to like this video, share it with anyone who's still struggling with Windows 11, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates on this ongoing tech battle. The cultural revolt that followed was ferocious. Social media exploded. Forums filled with users calling the company Microslop. The nickname spread fast across Reddit, X, and every major tech community online. Memes about broken updates, forced AI features, and tone-deaf corporate decisions dominated the conversation. Over 500 million users refused to upgrade from Windows 10. 500 million. That number is not a statistic. That is a verdict. That is 500 million people looking at Windows 11 and saying, quietly but clearly, we do not trust you anymore.
January's KB 507419 update was a mess. I'm talking black screens on boot, PCs that wouldn't shut down or hibernate, gamers dealing with weird graphics glitches and artifacts, File Explorer randomly breaking, classic Outlook just crashing out of nowhere. It got so bad, Microsoft had to rush out emergency fixes.
Governments and corporations started taking formal action. In 2024, the United States Congress moved to ban Copilot from government systems entirely, citing serious risks around sensitive data exposure. Fortune 500 companies began blocking Windows 11 deployments across their organizations. European regulators opened investigations into whether Microsoft's data collection practices violated privacy law. Companies that had been loyal Microsoft customers for decades started evaluating migrations to Mac OS and Linux. This was no longer just consumer frustration. This was institutional rejection. The world's most powerful organizations were walking away from Windows.
Example number 2. Microsoft has put AI in Microsoft Edge, Notepad, Paint, even your keyboard. Microsoft is even testing giving Copilot recommendations on the Start menu. Windows 11 is full-on turned into bloatware and ads for AI.
Inside Microsoft, the panic was visible. A company-wide directive surfaced that halted all new feature development and pulled engineers onto quality control duty. Microsoft called it the Windows Quality Initiative. It launched in January 2025. Read between the lines, and the message is damning. Microsoft was publicly admitting that the aggressive AI push and relentless update cycle had broken the core product. Copilot integrations were paused. New feature development stopped. Engineers were yanked off future projects and told to fix the present disaster first. Critics immediately pointed out the painful irony. Microsoft was now releasing emergency patches to fix the damage caused by previous patches. Every repair carried the risk of creating a new failure. The cycle had no end in sight.
If you ask Microsoft, this Windows 10 PC is e-waste, which is why I just switched to Linux. Now specifically I'm using Zorin OS, which is a distro specifically designed for people who are used to the way that Windows works. And the experience is pretty good. I tried gaming, I've tried it on a couple different laptops. While it's not perfect, it is a lot better than you might expect. I dropped an entire video talking about this, but the bottom line is this: if you're tired of Windows, especially if you're still stuck on Windows 10, then maybe it's time to give Linux a try.
But here is the part that stings the most. Users are not celebrating the Windows Quality Initiative. They are watching it with exhausted skepticism. Forums that once demanded Microsoft fix its product are now filled with a different kind of comment. Comments that say it is too late. Comments from people who have already switched. Comments from IT managers who no longer recommend Windows to their clients. The announcement of a quality initiative should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like a company trying to save its reputation after the reputation was already gone. Optimism is in short supply. Doubt is everywhere. Bill Gates spoke publicly in 2023, and his words landed hard. He said, "Speed should never come at the cost of trust." He said, "Moving fast means nothing if you destroy the relationship between a company and the people depending on its products." Nobody needed to spell out who he was talking about. The company's leadership had driven the AI-first strategy that turned Windows 11 into what it became. The argument was that bold moves were necessary to defend against modern cyber threats. Gates appeared to be saying that boldness without responsibility is just recklessness with better marketing.
It started to feel like Windows 11 was coming apart at the seams. Microsoft even admitted things had gone off track.
The divide between these two approaches became a symbol of Microsoft's deeper identity: crisis. Gates built the company around a simple idea. The software exists to serve the person using it. The company had repositioned itself as an AI company first, an operating system company somewhere after that, and a company thinking about what users actually wanted somewhere further down the list. Windows 11 was the most visible expression of that shift. The backlash was the most visible possible rejection of it.
Back there was a time when Windows wasn't just popular, it was dominant. Like in the late 90s and early 2000s, Windows powered over 90% of all personal computers worldwide. If you bought a computer, it almost certainly ran Windows. By the time Windows XP launched, business, schools, governments, everyone standardized on Windows. And this wasn't accidental. Windows was simple, predictable, and worked on almost any hardware. You didn't need a powerful machine, you didn't need an internet connection, you didn't need an account to even start using your computer.
What makes all of this so devastating is the scale of what Microsoft had. This was not a startup that overpromised. This was the company that put a personal computer in virtually every home and office on the planet. The company that ran hospitals, schools, banks, and governments for 4 decades. The trust Microsoft had was not built overnight. It was built update by update, product by product, promise kept after promise kept. And it was destroyed the same way, decision by decision, feature by feature, broken update by broken update. The road back is narrow, and Microsoft has not proven it can walk it. Rebuilding trust means more than pausing Copilot and shipping a stability patch. It means proving through consistent, transparent, user-first behavior over a long, sustained period that the company remembers who it is working for. It means giving users real control over their data, their updates, their AI features. Not the illusion of control buried 6 menus deep. Real control. Visible control. Honest control.
Microsoft, bless their hearts, says everything's fixed and points to their known issues page. But Reddit and the Microsoft Answers forums tell a different story. We're talking Wi-Fi connecting with no actual internet, Bluetooth controllers straight up disappearing mid-session, and at least one sysadmin on Reddit saying there was a 3 out of 5 chance his taskbar would just disappear.
Bill Gates understood something that the current leadership appears to have forgotten. Technology earns trust slowly. It loses trust fast. Every decision Microsoft made with Windows 11 tested exactly how much trust they could burn before users walked. Now they have their answer. 500 million people said no. Governments said no. Corporations said no. Security researchers said no. The world looked at what Windows 11 had become and said, this is not what we signed up for. Whether Microsoft can hear that clearly enough to actually change is the most important question in consumer technology right now. And based on everything we have seen so far, the answer is far from certain. Now that you've seen the full story, what do you think? Has Microsoft lost the trust it built under Bill Gates? Or can they still recover from this colossal Windows 11 backlash? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.